Trump seems to be sort of creating a little bit of separation between himself and Netanyahu, but I mean, I don't want to overstate things. But here the one thing that I remember from the 90s, and maybe into the aughts, but I feel like it was in the 90s. The thing that we would always hear is that Yasser Arafat would say one thing in English and then another in Arabic. That he would present one face to the English-speaking world and then to another that was the secret truth. That's what we were always told. And so it makes these sort of two appearances by Benjamin Netanyahu sort of interesting. Here is one where Netanyahu is in English speaking to a Christian conference hosted by U.S. pastor Paula White. Paula White was like Trump's spiritual advisor, right? Wasn't she?
She like saved me. She saved me from that bullet that Iran.
I only get saved by 8s or 9s. And she saved me.
It's math, folks.
But this is instructive for a couple of reasons. One, aside from Netanyahu lying, we now know that there is scant evidence of Hamas in any significant way stealing
aid. I mean, even the New York Times is calling it a lie now. So that's how egregious this garbage is.
That's how egregious it is. But it's also important to know that Kufi and folks like this, Christians United for Israel, are massive, massive political force in support of Israel and our policy. Like Christian Zionism does not get its share of credit.
In terms of numbers of Zionists in this country, in terms of numbers of Zionists in our government, in Congress, Christian Zionists well outweigh Jewish Zionists. And and Christian Zionists don't just have to be the extremists like the evangelicals who, yes, are that constituency. You can have a guy like Biden identify as a Zionist despite not being Jewish. This is like it's an ideology that is not tied to Judaism explicitly.
Here is Netanyahu.
Israel is presented as though we are applying a campaign of starvation in Gaza. What a bold-faced lie. There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza. We enable humanitarian aid throughout the duration of the war to enter Gaza. Otherwise, there would be no Gazans. And what has interdicted the supply of humanitarian aid is one force, Hamas. Again, the reversal of truth. Hamas robs, steals this humanitarian aid, and then accuses Israel of not supplying it.
So is there starvation or not?
Well, that's the thing, is that there's no starvation, but to the extent that there is, that it's Hamas. That's Benjamin Netanyahu in English on Sunday. Let's check in with Benjamin Netanyahu in Hebrew at Ramon Air Force Base on that same Sunday, and I'll read the translations here because it's in Hebrew. Go ahead. To complete this goal of eliminating Hamas and also the release of our hostages, we are advancing in the fighting and conducting negotiations. Whichever path we choose, or on any path, we will have to continue to allow the entry of minimal humanitarian supplies. We have done this until now. But the UN is making excuses and lies about the state of Israel. It says we are not allowed to enter with humanitarian supplies. We are allowing them. They're secured roads, and they have been all along, but today it's official. So the minimal of humanitarian. So now we have to, incidentally, Netanyahu in Hebrew concedes they're letting in the minimal humanitarian supplies, which in English, he says all is stolen by Hamas, supposedly. But do we trust Israel? Is there any reason? Is there any reasonable person in the world who, even if they were allowing the minimal, that they aren't defining minimal as by we can show some trucks on TV
Or
that will alleviate,
airdrop it in. That's what they've been doing. The airdropping, which is wildly insufficient. Yeah.
Or to alleviate the political pressure. That's what the definition of minimal is.
But that's what he's alleviating the political pressure with that second clip within Israel, Sam, because he's getting criticized by members of his coalition and other citizens of Israel for allowing any food in.
Yeah, Israeli citizens have blocked aid from going in. None of them have tried to, like, say, force aid in. That's not a thing that's happening.
But like, that's the different constituency. To talk to Christian Zionists in the United States, everyone's lying about the beautiful moral state of Israel. But to the Israeli citizenry that he has to be accountable for in terms of, like, keeping his position as prime minister, don't worry. We're letting the minimal amount of humanitarian aid in.
I mean, that is the classic. He didn't say minimal to the Christian. To the Christians, because you can't, because they, as much as they are Christian Zionists, there may be a couple of stray Christians in there who are like, wait a second, would Jesus have starved people?
Jesus was like, we're going to give you some minimal aid. I mean, insane.
We're all going to get the minimal of God's blessings. The minimal. We'll hit the minimal. Here is Donald Trump with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Lady Starmer in Turnberry, Scotland. Is this Trump's golf course?
Yes.
I think so.
Thanks for palling around, Keir.
You'll be shocked to know he's been, when he's not been doing genocide denial and enabling it, he's been complaining about windmills. Because he's still upset. I mean, it's been how many years of this fixation that there have been some windmills on his in the vicinity of his Scotland golf course that he finds unappealing.
It's unappealing. Okay, go ahead.
Stand on immigration, and taking a strong stand on immigration is imperative.
Mr. President, Prime Minister Netanyahu said there's no starvation in Gaza. Do you agree with that assessment?
I don't know. I mean, based on television, I would say not particularly, because those children look very hungry. But we're giving a lot of money and a lot of food, and other nations are now stepping up. I know that this nation is right.
It's
here.
a humanitarian crisis.
Right.
It's an absolute catastrophe, and nobody wants to see that. And I think people in Britain are revolted at seeing what they're seeing on their screens. So we've got to get to that ceasefire. And thank you, Mr. President, for leading on that, and also to just get more and more aid in. And again, America's done a lot on this. A lot of countries have done a lot. We're now working with Jordan on getting direct aid drops in, but this is a desperate situation.
Oh, my God.
Why do you have to work with Jordan? I thought Israel is one of your greatest allies in the Middle East. Couldn't you give them a call and just be like, hey, how about you let aid in all the crossings that you control in the open air concentration camp? And you have to airdrop it in. Like, I'm sorry, but if there really is, like, there needs to be... within Israel, I know that there's a lot of folks trying there are some folks that are trying their best to protest this, but there should be marches to the border and dare the Israeli military to stop you. But I mean, that's not going to happen en masse because unfortunately a majority of the Israeli population, overwhelming majority, approves of the ethnic cleansing.
They are behaving as a settler colonial population is basically on rails to behave towards indigenous people in land that they want.
Tomorrow on the program, we'll have a refusenik, young man who's refusing to go serve in the IDF, I believe, has served some time in jail because of it. We'll be talking to him tomorrow. Here's Donald Trump. Somebody reminded him, like, in one clip, he's saying, well, I've seen the TV. They look hungry. And here he is bragging about the $60 million in Gaza aid the U.S. has supposedly supplied. We will follow that up with a video of a U.S. Army Special Forces retired lieutenant colonel who was involved in the dispersion of that aid. But here's Donald Trump. Nobody said thank you.
Make everybody happy. Yes, please.
Mr. President, should Israel be doing more to allow food into Gaza?
Say it.
Should Israel be doing more to allow food into Gaza?
What did you say?
Should Israel be doing more to allow food into Gaza?
Well, you know, we gave $60 million 2 weeks ago, and nobody even acknowledged it for food. And it's terrible. You know, you really at least want to have somebody say thank you. No other country gave anything. We gave $60 million 2 weeks ago for food for Gaza. And
pause it for a second. You know, part of the reason why these ingrates in Gaza might not be able to say thank you is because of the bombs that are falling on their head, also provided by the U.S. Nobody said thank you for that either.
They can't say thank you because they're starving to death and they can't even absorb nutrients. Also, he's so stupid and easily manipulated that he really probably buys what he's hearing about Hamas taking all the aid, so that he thinks that this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is in any way sufficient, as opposed to, I don't know, an active part of the
UN?
Genocide.
I mean, the GHF was, my understanding, created in part because of Donald Trump's idea, and now it is just massacring people outside of aid depots.
But let's play the rest of that clip, and then we'll follow it up with this other one.
The country gave anything. We gave $60 million 2 weeks ago for food for Gaza. And nobody acknowledged it. Nobody talks about it. And it makes you feel a little bad when you do that. And, you know, you have other countries not giving anything. None of the European countries, by the way, gave. I mean, nobody gave but us. And nobody said, gee, thank you very much. And it would be nice to have at least a thank you. And I took a lot of heat. You know, when I do that, a lot of people aren't happy about that because they say, well, why are we doing it and nobody else? But I think we had a humanitarian reason for doing it. What's going to happen? I don't know. I can tell you that Hamas, as I said, would happen at the end. You know, we've gotten back a lot of hostages, a tremendous number of hostages, most of them. Now we have dead hostages, and the mothers want them back. And we have 20 people, approximately, but that are living. But we have a lot of bodies, and the parents want those bodies as much as they would want their child if that child were alive. I met with parents that were, it was so sad. Sir, please get my son back. How is your son doing? Well, he's dead, but they have his body. And it's so important. It's more important. It's almost like more, but it's as important as if the child were living.
So
These
insane.
people were, I mean, they're devastated. And I said, when you get it down to a certain number, you're not going to be able to make a deal with Hamas. Because once they give them up, then they feel that that's going to be the end of them. And what I said is exactly true. You know, they had a routine discussion the other day, and all of a sudden they hardened up. They don't want to give them back. And so
can you, okay,
Israel's
whatever.
going to have to make a decision.
That's the end.
I know what I do, but I don't think it's appropriate that I say. But Israel's going to have to make a decision.
What he's referring to is that the ceasefire negotiation, what Israel is basically saying is that Hamas has to basically commit suicide as an organization and turn themselves over. And they're basically saying, we'll release the hostages if you commit to not ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip, and they're not doing that.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.